Miss Mr. Sato here, and welcome to What If Naruto Was Trained by the Grand Priest. Not gonna waste any time at all. Just gonna give some. I'm just gonna give some background information. So, the Grand Priest in this What If is little not good, and by little I mean a lot. This man's almost the embodiment of evil. So he has plans to take over the universe and become the Omni King. Well, the multiverse, sorry. But he knows that Goku is gonna eventually get stronger because he's gonna seek training from the other angels. And he knows that Goku's gonna be a big problem. So he needs someone to train under him that will be willing to do what he says. So, Grand Priest looks through the universes and he sees a young boy. Well, the boy's not young anymore. He's an adult. And this man's name was Naruto. So the Grand Priest had a great idea. He would rewind time so far back to the point where Naruto was a kid. And this is when Goku was also, it was basically at the start of DBZ when Naruto was a kid. It was at the start of DBZ. So, he has an idea. He's like, alright, I'm gonna do that. And now I'll just train this boy and he'll become my disciple and eventually defeat Goku when the time is right. So that's what he does. And he goes to the boy when he turns 5. And he talks to the boy, tells him that he's gonna make him strong so he'll be able to defend himself in this world. So he would train Naruto all the way up until he was 8. So it's been 3 years, so he's 8. And Naruto has gotten significantly stronger. But he hasn't gotten too strong yet since he can't do intense training since he's literally only 8. But this gives the Grand Priest an idea. He creates Dragon Balls as he would know how to create Dragon Balls. And his first wish was to find out everything about this universe. His second wish was to revive all the Otsutsuki's, which he had learned about since he had went through, the universe's history and knowledge. He has all the knowledge of the universe. And then his last wish, he used to bring all the Otsutsuki's right where they were at this exact moment. Momoshiki would see the Grand Priest and ask him, what does he want? And why is all the Otsutsuki's here? Well, all the ones we know of so far. And the Grand Priest would say, well, you guys are going to train this boy. While I have things to handle in a different place. And this would anger Momoshiki, as he was pretty much just being tasked with babysitting. So Momoshiki would charge at the Grand Priest, but Naruto would go into the QB influence, which he can do because the Grand Priest had to beat the Nine Tails in combat. Therefore, the Nine Tails pretty much serves under the Grand Priest, and the Grand Priest will tell him to let him use his power at will, like whenever he just wanted to. So Naruto would block Momoshiki's attack, and then he would kick Momoshiki back, sending him flying. Momoshiki would then fly back at full power, and he would throw a punch at Naruto, which Naruto would swiftly dodge, and then wrap himself around Momoshiki's body. He would then start to squeeze, and Momoshiki would have no choice but to jump in the air and land on his back. This would hurt Naruto more, as it had jumped fairly high in the air and came down at fairly fast speeds. But Naruto would counter by rolling over onto Momoshiki and making a ball of ki and chakra, and he would slam it into the back of Momoshiki. He didn't know what to call it, so he just called it a ki. I don't know actually. He called it I'm gonna think of a name, but he didn't know what to call it yet. So he didn't say anything. This would damage Momoshiki a lot. And Momoshiki would start flying in the air, making Naruto fall. And Naruto would know how to fly, as he was taught the bases of ki and whatnot. So he would catch himself in the air and fly after Momoshiki. They would then go into an airborne battle, which Naruto was clearly winning, before Naruto would grab Momoshiki's arm and judo slam him onto the ground. And then, when Momoshiki tried to stand up, Naruto stepped on his chest and held out his hand with a ki blast appearing. And he would say, "If you get up, or try to get up, you will die." And Momoshiki, knowing that he's beat, would just lay there. Hagoromo would then talk with the Grand Priest and say, "So, all you want us to do is to train this boy, and then we could just get on with our lives." And the Grand Priest would nod his head. And Ishiki would then pull up from behind Hagoromo, just like step out of his shadow pretty much, and say, "How about if we fight you and beat you, then we all get to go home now." And he would be given the Grand Priest a death stare. And the Grand Priest would agree to do so. So all the Otsutsukis would get into their fighting stances. But in a second, they were all taken down, and the Grand Priest was standing behind them all, saying, "Well, looks like you guys are stuck here." And he would leave. So, from this point on, and two more years would pass, Naruto has turned 10. And he's been getting trained by all the Otsutsukis. And he's become fairly strong. So then, the Grand Priest would return. And he would, set Naruto's growth in power. And he would be amused and satisfied, as he would congratulate the Otsutsukis. And they would say, "Well, while it was fun, I guess you guys have to go now." And they would be thinking he was referring to going home. But then in a flash, Ishiki's right eye, which was the space-time jutsu, or the creation dojutsu, and one of Hagoromo's renegades disappeared. And they would scream out in pain, as the Grand Priest would say, "I'm going to be needing these." As he would then go to Naruto, and Naruto's eyes would be swapped out with both of those eyes. And then the Grand Priest would say, "Well, I guess you're all just going to have to die now." As he would hold up a ki beam that looks blue like his skin, and then it would turn a dark purple, and he would shoot it at them, and it moved like a heat-seeking ki ball as it hit Hagoromo, killing him on impact. Then it would turn around and go after another until it killed every single one of them. Ishiki and Momoshiki and Kage all tried to escape, as they were the strongest ones there. Well, Momoshiki would have been the strongest one there, but then Hagoromo died. but Hagoromo was die first. And they were pretty fast, but they weren't fast enough. As the Ki Blast caught up to them in an instant. And the Grand Priest would say to Naruto, they were planning on doing something bad anyway. They were going to hurt you, so I had to exterminate them. And Naruto would believe this, as he's pretty much known the Grand Priest for his whole life. But now, we're going to help you work on your powers. As Naruto, in the next year, so he's 11 now, would get a hang of the dojutsu. Of both of them. He knows the almighty pull, almighty push, the Shinra, planetary destruction, or, the Shinra Tensei, okay, I'm not, and he also knows how to create stuff with his other dojutsu, like spikes, and other stuff like spikes. He can create dragons, like clay dragons. Not real dragons, but yeah. And, yeah. And the Grand Priest would tell Naruto stories of a young child who was fairly strong. And he would also tell him about how the child was actually two children conjoined into one. And the name of this child would be Gotenks. And Grand Priest would say, would you like to meet him? I'm pretty sure he'd be up for a challenge. And Naruto would be glad. Oh, and one more thing. Momoshiki died in the hopes of being able to take over Naruto's body and get back at the Grand Priest. He gave Naruto his karma. But Naruto is much stronger than Momoshiki now. So even if Momoshiki tries to take control, it won't work. But yeah, I just wanted to clear that. So the Grand Priest will take Naruto to Universe 7, to the planet Earth. And they will go to Goku and the rest of the Z Fighters, saying that Naruto wants to challenge Goten and Trunks at the same time. And everyone would agree, as Vegeta wants to test his son's strength, and Goku just wants to see a fight. But they both kind of think that the fight's going to be easy for Goten and Trunks. So, yeah. So, Naruto would look at Goten and Trunks and tell that if he was to fight them as they are separated, he would easily beat them both. So he would say, fuse. And they would look in confusion. And Naruto would say, fuse. They would say, but isn't that a bit overboard? He would say, no, I can handle it. They would say, like, alright, like, if you want to have an early funeral. So Goten and Trunks fused. And Goku and Vegeta are getting ready to stop the fight, as they don't want their sons to murder some innocent child. And Gotenks would fly at Naruto with extreme speeds, and he would throw a punch. But Naruto would dodge out of the way before kicking Gotenks, sending him flying. Gotenks would then emerge from some rubble and then fly back at Naruto. And he would send a ghost kamikaze ghost at Naruto. But Naruto would just jump over it, cup his hands together, and yell out, Destruction Beam! As purple ki in his, mixed with his chakra would build up in his hands as he would launch it. And Gotenks was just barely able to dodge this. And Gotenks would say, let's kick it up a notch, as he would start charging up. And Naruto would activate his karma. Gotenks had went Super Saiyan 2, and Naruto had activated his karma. They would then start flying around, and every punch thrown would send shockwaves. Then, Gotenks will try to land a devastating kick on Naruto, but Naruto will move out of the way, grab his leg, and throw him into the ground before rushing at Gotenks. And Gotenks would then say, Super Ghost Kamikaze attack, sending a bunch of ghosts at Naruto. And Naruto would hold out his hand and absorb the ghosts. And they would all be confused. But Naruto didn't stop his attack to explain, as he would fly under Gotenks and uppercut him before grabbing his leg and sending him back to the ground. And the Super Ghost Kamikaze attack had boosted his power by a lot too. He could feel the power going, soaring through him, as he would then weave hand signs and say, Fire Style, Inferno Key Dragon, as the dragon would emerge from his hands. And it would look like a normal fire dragon, but then it would burst with a purple key around it, and it would fly after Gotenks. And Gotenks, having no other choice, would go into the Super Saiyan 3 and send two ghosts at it, exploding on impact. And this would destroy both attacks. And Naruto would then look up and say, oh, so we're going full power. So Naruto would say, I should do the same. As he would then go into the KCM, but this isn't even his full power, as he has access to KCM 2 and other form. Well, not other, he has another form. And he's still holding back in his KCM form, as he doesn't want to kill Goten. But Goten stood no chance, as Naruto would make enlarged fox hands and slam them down onto Gotenks, making him fall into the ground. And that, I'm talking mad low, hold up. He would make two huge hands appear from his back and slam them down onto Gotenks, sending him into the ground. Then, in a flash, he appeared right next to Gotenks, as he would grab him by the leg and launch him in the sky. Gotenks would then, one last time, say Super Ghost Kamikaze attack. As Naruto would then make a ki/chakra infused ball, and it would turn dark purple, as he would say, Bijou Dama. And he would jump up above Gotenks and get ready to slam it into his back. But then the Grand Priest appeared in between the two, and he dispersed the Bijou Dama, saying, that's enough, Naruto. As both Goten and Trunks fell out of the fusion, and they were dumbfounded by Naruto's power as he went back into his base. And as he went back into his base, they realized his eyes, they're weird. One of them were all purple with lines on it, and one of them were yellow with only a couple lines. But as soon as they were going to ask him, the Grand Priest erased all their memories of this moment, and teleported Naruto and himself back to Naruto's universe. So the Grand Priest would say, well, tomorrow is your 12th birthday, and you're going to become a ninja. So this is going to be the last time you see me for a while. Or maybe not. Depends on if I'm busy. But remember to hold back, because if you don't, you may end up killing the wrong people. But if you know that the person is threatening your life or your comrade's life, then do as you please. Just don't destroy the planet. And Naruto would nod in agreement as he would go off to school. And when he went to school, he was scolded for being late and everyone was surprised, and even the teacher was too. At first, his eyes are weird, and second, he hasn't been to school since he was 5. So why show up all of a sudden now? And maybe they were thinking, oh, today is the day we graduate, isn't it? So then Naruto would be called up to Haruka, and Haruka would also call up Sasuke as they were about to spar. And Sasuke, wasting no time, would rush at Naruto and throw a punch that Naruto dodged, and then judo slammed Sasuke into the ground, making him cough up spit. And then, as he bounced off of the ground, Naruto would kick him up into the air, then weave hand signs and say, "Wind style, Wind Shuriken." And multiple Wind Shuriken would fly up towards Sasuke. But Sasuke was just barely able to do a 360, dodging all of the Shuriken. But when he fell to the ground, he was met with a powerful kick to the stomach, sending him into a tree that would knock him out. And Naruto would be declared the winner. And Naruto would go home and make a shadow clone in his place while no one was looking. So, at school, because he had a great idea. Because while talking to the fox that lived inside of him, they became good friends. And the fox would tell him about a secret transformation he possessed called the burying mode. That he'd be able to access it, but only once, since it uses his life force. So he would grab the Dragon Balls that Daishinkin had made, and his first wish would be to make Kurama immortal. Then he would also think back to when the Grand Priest was telling Naruto about the gods of destruction. So he would then make Kurama a god of destruction, which he would be able to do with his, since the Grand Priest has high levels of power, and those are his Dragon Balls. And then for his last wish, he would think. And he would remember stories that the Grand Priest told him about the increases in strength that Saiyans get when they lose a battle and get healed up, or near-death experiences. And he remembered they were called Zenkais. He would then say, I would like to have the ability to gain Zenkais. And his final wish would be granted. So Naruto would be happy, and he would go into his mindscape and see Kurama. Kurama had something around his neck. It was the things that all the God of Destructions wore, but his was a dark red. And he had bracelets on, giant bracelets, since he was still in his giant fox form. But he also had gained the ability to gain a smaller form, which he would do. And he would have dark red pants with lines on them, black lines. It would completely match the thing around his neck. And on his left ear, he had a piercing, two. One on they were both in the middle of his ear, but one was above the other by a finger space. And Naruto would like this new look, and he would train with Kurama, who has gotten significantly stronger. And Naruto doesn't have to hold back against him, since he's in his own mind. And second, Kurama is immortal. So this would be, this would get, help him a lot when he needs to train, but the Grand Priest isn't around. So then he would then go back to school and swap out with his shadow clone without anyone noticing. and they would all be given the same teams as in the original. So then Kakashi knows who he's training, and since the Anbu keep tabs on Naruto, they know about his increase in strength, but they don't know about the Grand Priest. So Kakashi, taking no time at all, he would instantly commence the belt test, not wasting time on introductions as he already knows who the kids are. And he doesn't really care what they like at the moment. He just wants to make sure that Naruto won't be a threat to the Leaf. So he sees how he fights in battle. Because if he fights ruthlessly against his own sensei, he might do it against anyone in the village, which could be a problem. So when Kakashi would say go, all three of the ninja would jump into the bushes and they would start making a plan. But midway, Sasuke would just get tired of trying to think of a plan that suited them all. So he would just jump out from the bushes and try to fight Kakashi. And this would go the same as in the original. But then Naruto would dash out of the bushes in his QB influence form. And he would kick Kakashi in the stomach, making him let go of Sasuke and sending him flying to the river that originally Naruto had got 1,000 years of depth into. But Kakashi would catch himself on the water, using his chakra to stand on it. But he didn't have enough time to, assess the situation, as Naruto was already flying at him. He would grab his face and throw him into the ground. Kakashi would then lift up his headband while rolling back, and he'd stop himself. As he would then say, water style, water dragon jutsu, as a water dragon would appear before Naruto, and it would charge at him. And Naruto would hold out his hand and send a wave of ki and chakra, and it would disperse the water dragon. As he would then think, wait, I'm supposed to hold back. As he would go out of the QB influence and go full force, he would then start going toe-to-toe with Kakashi. And Kakashi knew he was holding back. He would say, well, that's good. But if he's holding back against me, and I'm even using my Sharingan, God knows how strong he is. And Kakashi would then slash at Naruto with a kunai, and Naruto would block with his own kunai before grabbing Kakashi's arm, pulling him close, and then kicking him in the stomach, pulling him back in by his arm, kicking him in the chin, sending him flying into the air. And then Naruto would jump up there with him, but this would be a big mistake, as Kakashi would grab both of his arms and wrap his arms around Naruto. And he would turn upside down and say primary lotus, as he would start spinning rapidly, and he would slam Naruto's head into the ground. At least that's what he had thought. But he was in a Genjutsu the whole time, as Naruto knows how to use his Rinnegan. And he would kick Kakashi in the back of the leg, take the bells, and then say, we win, don't we? As Kakashi would snap out of the Genjutsu, and he would be confused, as he then realized he was in a Genjutsu the whole time, because he would see everyone in their same positions as when the belt test had started. Sasuke would say, why did you just, stand there while he took the belt from you? That was too easy. And Kakashi would say, it was a Genjutsu, wasn't it? As Naruto would just smile and nod his head. As the Genjutsu was a very strong Genjutsu, one of the strongest. It's where whatever Naruto was thinking about, it would play through his head. So this was Naruto thinking about how the battle would go. That's why he didn't want to risk it. And Kakashi would say, well, welcome to Team 7. But next time, use teamwork. And don't resort to Genjutsu all the time. It may not always work. As he would walk away. So Sasuke doesn't find out about Kakashi's Sharingan. And that fight didn't even really happen. It was just a Genjutsu. That's where I'm going to end this off, though. Hopefully you guys liked it. And, yeah.